There are a few players in recent memory that I was as excited to see in the NBA than I was with Chet Holmgren. He was a unique prospect that truly was the first of his kind. We have never seen a prospect this tall and this skinny with as many functional traits and basketball feel as Chet Holmgren. Due to his outlier frame, he was a polarizing prospect to say the least. Some believed he was too skinny to make it in the NBA, while others believed he was the best player in the draft. I had some concerns about Chet because of the frame, but I also thought he made up for it with incredible skill, feel, a competitive wiring as a player, and a high motor on both ends of the floor. Chet was my number 2 player in the 2022 NBA draft, and it was fitting that he went second overall to the OKC Thunder behind my number 1 player on my big board, Paolo Banchero. Chet showed everything I expected him to at Summer League. He showed his strengths and his flaws, and I was excited to see what he would do this season, until he got injured during a Pro-Am game before the season, and would be sidelined for the entirety of the 2023 season. I still have a lot of hope for Chet, and I think this upcoming season in 2024, we could see an absolute monster. So I want to start by talking about the he won't last in the NBA because of the weight narrative, and I want to start by saying I do understand concerns about his weight and strength. We haven't seen a prospect built like this that's also as good as Chet is. I know people will bring up other skinny NBA prospects that worked out and became great NBA players in defense of Chet, guys like Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, and Evan Mobley, and to an extent, I think those guys were skinny. But it's not a great example to use. Kevin Durant played a completely different position than Chet Holmgren in college, and is a completely different player. KD is a wing forward, while Chet is a forward big. Anthony Davis was skinny, but he also wasn't as skinny as people think. He was 220 pounds in college and clearly just looked like he had a frame that was going to fill out to 250 plus pounds. And Evan Mobley is someone I feel similarly compared to Anthony Davis, but to a lesser extent. He was around 210 pounds in college, and I think he has a frame that suggests he can get up to like 240 pounds. We really haven't seen someone built like Chet as a prospect as well. Again, 7'1" and under 200 pounds. It's really rare to see that. And it's even more rare to see it in a prospect that's as good as Chet Holmgren was at Gonzaga. Yes, he did get bullied at times in college because of the lack of strength. And I do think he does have to add strength to reach his ceiling in the NBA. Luckily, based off recent photos and videos of him in shoot-arounds, he does look like he's added more functional strength to his frame. He definitely looks a little bit bigger. But one sign I always look at when it comes to how a player could potentially fill out their frame when it comes to maxing out their functional strength is their shoulders. The broader your shoulders are, the more functional strength I think you can add. And Chet Holmgren has pretty narrow shoulders. And as of right now, he looks like he's up from 195 pounds to around 205 to 210 pounds. And I think realistically, Chet gets up to 220 to 225 pounds with a generous max as far as adding functional strength at 230 pounds. Which I think will be more than fine, considering I think that Chet Holmgren is more of a natural power forward than a true big. And I don't think he seriously will have to bulk up to like 250 pounds. I think 225 to 230 pounds at most will be enough functional strength to maybe match the physicality a bit more. But more importantly, I think it's a weight that he will still have his functional movement skills that make him a special prospect. However, while yes, I do think his frame as of right now is still a bit of a concern, I don't think it's as big of a concern as his detractors say it is. Because believe it or not, his job isn't to guard the Jokic's and Embiid's of the world 1v1. And honestly, he did hold up pretty well against stronger players. He more than held his own against Jalen Duren, who is one of the most physically gifted prospects ever. And he's proven time and time again that despite his skinny frame, he's a dominant defensive player. He proved it in high school as a junior, where he absolutely dominated on defense against a loaded Sierra Canyon team that had multiple, at the time, current and future McDonald's All-Americans. By the way, he had 12 blocks in that game. Yes, 12. He averaged 3.7 blocks per game in college in just 26.9 minutes per game. And that includes strong games, defensively at the very least, against UCLA, Duke, Alabama, Texas Tech, Memphis, and Arkansas. So he's proven at multiple levels he's a world-class defender despite being the same weight as guards. And he's shown his defensive value isn't just about 1v1 defense. Why are we holding the fact he can't guard all-time great offensive centers like Jokic and Embiid, among others, 1v1? When there are great players in the NBA that are physically more ready and more built than Chet will probably ever be, that also can't stop those guys 1v1. Do I think Chet needs to add weight and strength to his frame? Yes. Do I think he can't make an impact in the NBA because of the frame? No. Chet might struggle with physicality in some aspects, and that includes, again, like if he's in a one-on-one against Jokic or Embiid. But he's proven that he can be dominant on defense every time he's taken a leap to higher quality competition. And on top of that, I know people are going to talk about injuries. Yes, he did miss this entire season with a wrist sprain injury, but here's the thing. That's more of a freak injury than a sign of injury proneness, because he doesn't have a really big injury history. He's never really gotten hurt until then. And so, we'll have to see, and only time will tell about how he holds up durability-wise in the NBA. But to act like he's injury prone just because he's skinny when he doesn't have an injury history is kinda silly in my opinion. Now I do want to focus on what Chet Holmgren's profile as a player is. On defense, Chet will bring his most value. He's an elite shot blocker with good timing and discipline on his attempts. He overall is a good paint protector. He makes up for the lack of strength with great verticality. His height and wingspan allow him to get good contests consistently, and he's a pretty good athlete. Good lateral mover, moves well in open space, pretty good in the open floor as well in transition on defense, which does make him capable in the post as well based off the athleticism traits and his discipline and feel on defense, but the strength does have to get better. He can drop in the PNR, he can hedge, and he's capable on switches. I don't think he's quite the athlete that Evan Mobley is on switches, and I don't think he'll ever reach the Bam Adebayo level of true 1-5 switchability, but he does hold his own on switches, and I would say it is a plus for him on defense. I think Chet's value on defense will go up with continued added strength, which, like I mentioned earlier, he does seem to be on the right track. The reason I found a lot of the criticisms about Chet on defense silly is because they were knocks that didn't have to do with the role he plays on defense. Chet Holmgren isn't this island player. He's not someone you put on the opposing team's best forward or big and have him lock them up. He's a versatile help defender that can defend all drives to the paint, monster shot blocker, and be anywhere from solid to great in other defensive coverages. Which is why I am less worried about the fact that he likely will max out at like 230 pounds at the most, where, again, if he was a true big, I would be more worried about it, but I think he's more of a forward that can defend the paint on defense than a true big defender. So 230 pounds should be enough if that's the max for what he can do when adding the functional strength to that frame. And offensively, I think Chet is going to be really good as well. Now, despite how much his perimeter skills are highlighted, I think the foundation of what Chet will be on offense will be traditional big stuff, as a role in pop man in the PNR, as a dump off and lob threat, as a rim runner in transition. Given the fact that the Thunder have SGA, who's arguably one of the 10 best players in the league, Josh Giddey, who's a world-class passer and growing scorer, and Jalen Williams, who's a very efficient connecting scorer as well. I don't think, at least at the very beginning of Chet's career, he's going to be asked to be a big-time scorer. I do think he can grow into a number 2 scorer, but I don't think that he's somebody that will be like a number 1 alpha scorer. I do think Chet has scoring skills outside of traditional big stuff, obviously. That's what made him a special prospect. His handle is functional. He can somewhat create off the dribble. I think he has solid footwork in the post. But I don't think Chet ever really profiles as that big-time scorer, obviously. In a way, he kind of reminds me of Evan Mobley as an offensive player. Someone with the skills and intangibles to be a big-time scorer, but doesn't always have the wiring to do it consistently, which is fine because like with Mobley, Chet will be playing around great offensive players. I do think there is a bit of a difference between those two. I think Mobley is a more natural and gifted passer than Chet is, and I think Chet is a more natural and gifted shooter than Mobley is. But I think regardless of that, if you get someone in Chet Holmgren who can be a real threat as a PNR finisher, lob threat, and overall play finisher that can hit jumpers off the catch and off movement, attack the basket with his handle and footwork, and can create shots on the perimeter off the dribble to a certain extent, that is a very valuable player to have. But he becomes even more valuable when you add what he can do on defense. The combination of what he is on offense and what he is on defense is what makes me believe that Chet Holmgren can be a very special player in the NBA. So what do I think Chet Holmgren will be next season as a rookie? I think Chet Holmgren will be really good. Rookie of the Year good? We'll see about that. It's going to be tough because I think Victor Wembanyama is going to have an all-time great rookie season. Yes, he's that good. I also think Scoot Henderson is going to have one of the better rookie guard seasons ever. So I do think competition will be pretty stiff. But I do think Chet very well could be first team all rookie. The reason I think Chet will have a very strong rookie year is because of the track record of rookies that went to the top of the draft that missed year 1 entirely because of injury. Blake Griffin was an all-star and had one of the best rookie seasons ever, and Ben Simmons also had a rookie season that's one of the better, and at the very least recent memory and maybe ever, in terms of what he did and how he helped elevate that Philly team to the playoffs, and he should have been an all-star. Now granted, those two were much more NBA ready from a physical standpoint than Chet is, but there is an advantage to being with an NBA team for a year and working on adding strength before ever playing an NBA game. And Chet clearly has been in the weight room, even if he is still pretty skinny, and I think that has been the focus with him during this basically redshirt year of adding, that functional strength to the frame. I think Chet will average 14.5 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game, and 2.2 assists per game, as well as 1.8 blocks per game on 56.1, 37.6, 73.4 shooting splits as a rookie in 2024. I think he will be first team all rookie and will finish top 3 in rookie of the year voting. I don't think his rookie season will be on quite the level that Wemby or Scoot will, but that speaks more to the fact that those are 2 of the 4 best prospects I've ever evaluated. But I do think based off the numbers Chet could average, the impact he could have, and the jump I expect OKC to make next season, should make him a top 3 candidate in theory. Granted, at the end of the day, these are all just projections and we'll have to see how things play out, but based off what I've seen from Chet as a prospect, I do think that these are fair expectations for the rookie season, especially considering he has more NBA experience being around an NBA team for a full year before playing in an NBA game. And if you want to talk what I think Chet Holmgren at his peak could be, well, it's a more interesting discussion because I do think that it's something that only time will tell, and we never will truly know until it happens. But based off what I see on tape, what I see in the straights, and what I know about how bigs develop, I think Chet could average about, around 28.1 points per game, 11.3 rebounds per game, 4.1 assists per game, and 3.1 blocks per game on 58.4, 40.7, 80.1 shooting splits. Be perennial all-defense, defensive player of the year candidate as this versatile, all-around defensive monster. Be an all-star consistently, one of the best bigs in the league. Maybe make a few All-NBA second or third teams. First team is going to be tough because he's going to have to compete with Tatum, Giannis, Luka, even though I think he's considered a guard, but I know he's considered both. Joel Embiid, obviously, Nikola Jokic. So first team is tough. Like, there are guys that should be first team year in and year out that aren't because of how talented the forward and big spots are in the league. But I do think second team isn't out of the question, and definitely not third team. I definitely think he could consistently be like a third team All-NBA guy. I think if he adds the necessary functional strength, Chet will be a starter in this league as a really good offensive player and one of the best defensive players in the league. I know I said he will play off of Giddey and SGA early on, but I think his scoring tools are just more natural than Giddey's, even though I do think Giddey is growing as a scorer. And I do think he does project long term to potentially be a second scoring option that can give you a 20 to 22 point per game output behind SGA's 30 plus point per game output. The OKC Thunder are building something special. They have a superstar in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They have an elite passer in Giddey. They have an incredible glue guy connector in Jalen Williams. And they add a versatile two-way monster next season in Chet Holmgren that could potentially be the second scoring option. Or maybe third behind someone they add in the draft potentially because of OKC's treasure chest of draft picks. OKC went from the laughingstock of the league to a potential contender a few years down the line. And in my opinion, they have the brightest future of any young team in the league. That's based off what I've seen on the court so far. Not even factoring in the monster they're about to unleash on the NBA next season. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notification bell, I'm notified whenever I release a video. I make videos about basketball all the time, so if you enjoy basketball in general, not just the NBA, I really think you would enjoy this channel. And liking and subscribing are the two best ways it can helps me out in the YouTube algorithm, helps more people find my videos, and helps me grow as a channel so I can make content for you guys consistently in the future. I can't thank you guys enough for the support you guys have shown on my channel recently, especially considering videos have gotten longer. They went from like 8 to 10 minutes at the most to videos being like 10 to 15 minutes now. And seeing what I've been able to do this month, it's been incredible. This is by far the best month on YouTube I've ever had. I got my first ever 20k view video. It's just been awesome. I truly can't thank you guys enough for that. But also leave comments what you think about Chet Holmgren in the comment section below. I know this was another one of those longer videos. Yeah, but that's all I really gotta say in this one. Let me know what you think about Chet. Thank you guys for the support recently. That being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.